Hi, my name is Nii Adesoya. Leadership is everything. And then for you to succeed, whether as a businessman or as an individual or anything in life, even as a father, as a mother, as a parent, you must learn leadership and you must be conversant with it. And that is why everyone who became successful as a leader are more intentional about their leadership. So let me share some few nuggets with you on how you can be intentional about growing your leadership. Guys, you cannot grow your leadership unless you're intentional. And for you to be intentional, you must know where you're going. In other words, you must have a destination. The clarity about your destination is not negotiable. Once you're clear about where you're going, you know your destination, then you have done almost 50% of the work. And that gives you a strong why. Why am I going to meet this person? Why am I going to do this? Why am I going to do that? Then you need to start looking at how do I get there? And in getting there, there is something that most people do not understand. People may tell you need discipline, you need knowledge, you need all those things. Yeah, I agree with that. But all those things takes form through your interpretation. Your interpretation of every event gives you the energy, the resources, and the know how to get into your destination. So I'm clear about where I'm going, I'm clear about my why, but the next thing is that how do I interpret events? How do I interpret conversation? How do I interpret situations and circumstances around me? Good. Once you get your interpretation right, then you know you're on the right path. Because actually, the difference between you and someone who is not successful in anything that they do, whether leadership or in their business, is basic because of interpretation. Why somebody is saying a half empty glass, someone else is saying a half filled glass. It's all about interpretation. Now, the question is this: how do I interpret right? Yeah, I get you. Your interpretation actually takes a stress from your frame of reference. Because everything you hear, what I'm saying right now, is going to pass through your frame of reference. And your frame of reference determines how you interpret what I'm saying right now as rubbish or as very valuable. So, if my frame of reference is going to affect my interpretation, and I need my interpretation to be able to take me to that place, my destination, then I need to pay attention to my frame of reference. Now, what's your frame of reference? Your frame of reference is the summation of your education, your network, your environment, your exposure. So, if I want to get the right interpretation, then I need to start looking at how do I acquire more education? Where do I acquire it? Who do I need to talk to? Where do I need to find myself? Because most of the time, it is not about what you know, it's about the people that you know. Because when you spend time with people who have the right interpretation of life because of their frame of reference, before you know what, I start affecting you. And once it start affecting you, start changing your frame of reference, it will affect your interpretation for good. Now, this is an interpretation. What's my education like? Where do I get more? Who are my friends? How do they think? What's the environment that I find myself? And that's why you see some of us will do anything to be in a particular kind of environment because we know there is an energy that that environment supplies. We know there's a kind of surgical operation that happens to our mind because once we are in the right environment and then our mind is affected by it, then our frame of reference begins to change. Why? Because the network I have is changing the way I think, my education is changing the way I think, my exposure is changing the way I think. Once that changes, then my interpretation changes, and then I'm on the right path. Because the thing that makes somebody move fast towards their destination is almost the same event that happened to you. But that event crippled you because your frame of reference did not allow you to interpret properly. So anybody who wants to be intentional about their leadership growth pays attention to their frame of reference. Education, remember? Network, exposure. Who are you exposing yourself to? And that is why on the 11th and 12th of November, we will definitely be providing you with the right environment, the right education, and the right network as we gather together at Eco Hotel and Suite, Eco Hotel and Suite, Lagos, Nigeria, as we go deep into what we call the intrigues of sophisticated leadership. Many people always stop at strategic leadership, but they didn't take it into the sophisticated part of it. And there's always a journey. You start from operation to operational management, where you put systems and structures in place, and you move from operational management to operational leadership. Operational leadership is when you begin to manage the people that will manage your system for you, and you must be very good when it comes to emotional intelligence, social skills, and understanding the different personality of each person and everything like that. And then you move from operational leadership to strategic leadership. And strategic leadership is what you don't manage people at this point. You manage ideas, ideology, you deal with the culture. But that is not enough. And on the 11th and 12th, we'll be sinking you deep into intrigues of sophisticated leadership. Sophisticated leadership is when you consider the different situations around you and you implement the right leadership style. There is always a demand on your diversity, of your dexterity as a leader, but the situation makes a demand on the kind of leadership to put forward. And not just that, sophisticated leadership also talks about your network. How much power do you have? Most people don't think about that. And that's why whenever I teach leadership, I teach what I call power exchange. Because when I do you a favor, I expect a favor back from you. And then what am I doing? I'm giving you power, I'm expecting power back. Because there will be a time when I will make a demand on that power. That makes me sophisticated. I mean, I need to know what's going to happen in my industry before it happens. I need to know the policy that's going to take place before it takes place. That gives me an edge. And you can never get there because of your strategy. You can only get there because of your sophistication as a leader. And sophisticated leadership also means regulator capture. And not just that, building strong network. Because actually, guys, actually, to be truthful with you, what you know is always amplified by the people you know. Protection is only guaranteed by the people you know at strategic places. So, how do you get their attention? How do you move them to be more interested in you? How do you turn them into stakeholders? These are some of the things that we'll be teaching on the 11th and the 12th of November. And joining me on this program will be Koju Oyemade. And Koju Oyemade, you all know him, the senior pastor of the Covenant Nation. Very vibrant, fantastic man with so much to offer. I mean, you need to come and learn how he was able to move his community, church community, from just being in one place, Yaba, Lagos, Nigeria, and then before you know what's happening, in less than 10 to 15 years, he's spread all over the world. And then Koju Oyemade has been very strategic in changing the minds of Nigerians, both in Nigeria and diaspora, to start thinking differently when it comes to the nation. And that's very apostolic in nature. So he will be there with us on that day, on those days, 11th and 12th of November. You don't want to miss it. You want to come and glean from his wealth of experience. And not just him, I have Dr. Richard Ayong. Richard Ayong is very, very cerebral and a very successful businessman. How do you explain this to people than just to throw out numbers? When you have a man that has built and sold 15,000 housing units in Nigeria, that guy's got something to say. No Nigerian presently can boast of having 15,000 houses built and sold. And he told me that there are 25,000 housing units in the pipeline. That makes him the king of real estate. And he's going to share his mind with us. He's coming to share his knowledge with us. And he's going to share with us how he was able to overcome a very devastating experience in his life that nearly crushed his business. I mean, lost 47 billion naira in the process, but now he's bounced back. I always love the bounce back story, and Richard is going to be with us and share this with us. And also, not just Richard, we have some beautiful ladies also. Caroline Popola is going to be with us also. Caroline runs a chain of business in the UK. And then, I mean, Alpha Care, she has about 13 children care or children care school, yeah, in the UK. And Caroline is going to be with us. I actually requested that she talks to us on how to raise champions, how to raise global champion, because she's dealing with kids, and not just with kids, she's dealing with the parents of the kids also. How have you been able to do that? And Caroline is going to open our eyes to the dimension, the international dimension, global dimension of leadership. And then also Olamide Alao, fantastic lady, business guru, chairman of Humera Farms. I mean, she is just deep in the things that she does, cerebral, and then one of the power women in Nigeria. She's coming to share ideas also, and you need to make sure you're there. And also, before I forget, I have Lola Esson. Lola Esson is the partner, senior partner with Ernest and Young, and she's going to be with us also to share with us how we can close the gap between the CEOs and the employees. What is required for the employee to be able to move on and get things done, and what is the required of the CEO to help the employee bridge that gap of performance. You don't want to miss all this on the 11th and 12th of November, and that is why you must be there. Check the website, the phone numbers, make that call right now. Remember the intrigues of sophisticated leadership. You cannot survive the business terrain, you cannot survive life without understanding the intrigues of sophisticated leadership. Sophisticated leadership is more about your network, it is more about your ability to be fluid and not to be restricted. Sophisticated leadership talks about your ability to go around the challenges, overcome the challenges. Sophisticated leadership gives you what you need not to be overwhelmed by situations around you. In other words, a sophisticated leader can never be limited. Join us 11th and 12th of November 2022 as we gather in a hotel and suite. You don't want to miss it. And for my friends in the diaspora, I've got good news for you also. We're going to be streaming live streaming. So you need to just check the website and then join us. You will be glad you did. Thank you.